Like
All
that?
right. We are now streaming.
Nice.
Audio's coming through. Nice.
Coffee.
All right, let's kick this off. Cool. Among the original visions of the United States of America, there were primarily two competing ideas. One was the vision of Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence and third president of the country, to be a nation built on small farming communities, each with the capability to sustain themselves with their own local resources and networks. A nation of yeomen farmers whom are self-sufficient and independent from outside help. The other vision was that of Alexander Hamilton, Revolutionary War veteran, lawyer, and the country's first Treasury Secretary, to be a nation of mercantile traders and businesses. Unlike President Jefferson, who favored decentralized governments and the ability of citizens to manage their own affairs, Hamilton was all in favor of a stronger central government with centralized banking, fostering strong business class in urban centers. While the Jeffersonian vision of the United States arguably held out through the 19th century, I think it's safe to say that the Hamiltonian vision overtook the national ethos through the 20th century. The world of bank savings, high finance, loans, interest, company stock, and liquid marketplaces that dominate the U.S. economy today is definitely a product of Hamilton's mercantilism. I think President Jefferson would be appalled at how little 21st century Americans rely on their own food sources and how much trust they place in banks. However, it's not just banking and economics that Americans have outsourced to institutions. It seems like more and more of our lives are dominated by circumstances that are outside of our direct control. How many of you feel confident in your ability to survive if all the grocery stores in your area suddenly closed? How long could you survive without the international supply chains on which humans have grown so reliant? To be fair, globalism and international trade have brought us some amazing things. 200 years ago, it would have been unthinkable for a low-class farmer in middle America to go purchase tropical fruit in winter from his local market. Today, grocery stores have a plethora of fruit from all over the world and available most times of the year. But this ease of access has also made us more vulnerable because we no longer know how to live without it. I don't think most humans realize just how fragile this global economy is. What is the value of liquid marketplaces if we no longer have manufacturing centers making physical goods? What is our economy worth? What is our currency worth if the Federal Reserve can simply print more of it? This is the issue with relying so heavily on a business class whose only goal is profit above all else. Profit should be a means to an end, not a means in itself. There are now private companies so large and wealthy that they have power equivalent to governments with budgets equivalent to the GDP of some small countries, and their only goal is to keep their income streams flowing. The goal was laid out quite plainly at the World Economic Forum in 2016, with the now infamous quote, "You'll own nothing and be happy." That mentality is the end result of fostering such a powerful business class on the world stage. Private ownership cuts into business profits in the long run. Why would a company sell a product when they can sell limited use of a product through a subscription service? And since we no longer understand how to farm or build for ourselves, we are increasingly reliant on governments to regulate marketplaces for the goods that they produce for us. Perhaps the solution to this bureaucratic mess which modern societies have created is a return to a more traditional way of life, in which we can survive on our own efforts through localized community collaboration. I have three guests with me to discuss this topic. And now you're all on camera. Well, why don't you introduce all yourselves?
I think you should.
You're a friend.
Juan Hill, friend as well.
Australian friend as well.
Alright. And just, I'll keep you off camera. I'm going to turn that mic toward you guys. How'd you think of that intro?
Good. It's good. Pretty good.
That was definitely deep thought.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually kind of crazy that's the topic that came up because me and my mom I got back from church this morning and she was watching some videos of just like this I guess just like this Japanese chick just like picking up fruits and stuff like that, and then going to her village to go and sell them and stuff like that. And it's kind of like how you were saying, like, and her argument about how she felt like when she was watching that was that she was saying that she felt it reminded her of home, because I don't know if I told you this, but my mom is actually from El Salvador. And she came over here to the U.S. and I asked her, I'm like, well, how crazy was it to go from that style of living? So I'm not trying to say like it was like super primitive, but like, you know, where you had to rely on produce and you had to sell it yourself and kind of just be super reliant on the agriculture and stuff like that, instead of like just having all that accessibility that we do over here in the U.S. She said it was a pretty crazy change to see that, you know.
The access.
Yeah, just, you know, just the ease of access, you know.
Yeah.
Go from the more local economy to a more
You think maybe that's why
post-industrialized economy.
That's could be a reason why her and my grandma kind of connected, because in a way they have that same kind of, like where your mom came from in El Salvador. It's like they're almost like a generation behind.
Oh yeah.
Like, so that's why it kind of matches, you know, with that, where my grandma has that same upbringing where she has to depend on the land of the area, you know, farming from, you know what I mean? It was all pretty more localized.
Yeah.
You weren't getting too much lettuce that came from California.
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
El Salvador, you would, like, you know, it had already been probably like 10 years that us Americans already had iPhones. Probably took them like 5 years to get those, you know.
Yeah.
It's just like that like time gap of like, you know, of like the country and stuff like that.
The socio whatever economic.
Like
the economic status.
Social economic status of a country that's, you know. I mean, I don't know how poor or, you know, or how wealthy El Salvador is, but I know it's nowhere near the U.S.
Yeah.
You know?
So what do you think is the proper balance between a more traditional society where communities are more self-reliant and a more post-industrial society where we have more access to more things? What do you think is the proper balance?
I think a rural area is a perfect example of a perfect balance.
Yeah.
You know, because there's people who are interested in the agriculture and stuff like that. Like, you know, you got like your cowboys and stuff like that. They're out there, you know, dealing with their livestock and stuff like that. And then they also are still able to kind of mix that in with like business. So I think a rural area is a perfect example about how America could survive that way. You know.
Yeah, they it's interesting because you can't really find that too much in a city. I mean, can you? I don't know. Can you?
Like what do you like? What is an example of like of that in a city? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think a rural area is the most ideal place to find that kind of, you know. That you know, that equal balance of both. You know, you're still like, you know. You still have access to things.
You still have access to things, but you're also still kind of reminiscent on, hey, if the system goes down, not saying that it will, but if it were to,
you have some generational knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. You have the knowledge of.
You have access to do things, like you have areas where you can store your meat. Most people here have bigger freezers. Because they go hunting and such. I think that kind of, if you can't apply that kind of method if you're someone living in the city. It's hard because you're limited in space, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, I don't know, I just feel that when people come to the country, it's like, that's where they can experience those feelings of, you know, knowing how to do those things.
Of that balance, you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it's possible to make cities more efficient and it's not like people who live in cities can't grow their own food. But why do you think people don't in cities? You think it's just ease of access?
I mean, I think it is, and then I think
ease of access. It's probably regulated a lot, because if you're going to grow, you're either going to want to share it. If you're going to grow a lot, you're going to, most people in the cities don't have big families, so how much are you going to grow for? You know what I mean? Like, is there an incentive to do it?
But that leads into another big issue. Why not just grow for your neighbors around you?
I mean, you can, but it's probably regulated. You know what I mean? Like, just even the farmers market itself, the vendors who sell there, I'm sure have to follow so many types of rules, have to have so much licensing, whatever. I can't see that being. I feel like if you're going to make it to where you can share with people, that's always going to be an issue in the city. Like, you're always going to have this kind of proper paperwork and proper this, and you got to make sure this, because you don't want to kill somebody and sue somebody, get sued. And here in the city, I think it's a little. I mean, in the rural area, it's a little more like, hey, this is my neighbor. I know them. I have a more personal connection with them. I think cities need to do a better job at having more of a community sense. There's not much community sense.
Why do rural areas tend to have stronger community ties than cities?
Because you have to. I mean, like, when you're small, you got to kind of depend on one another, to help each other out. You know what I mean? Especially in an area like this, where look at the snow we have. Like, if somebody was ill prepared, imagine somebody living here and they don't have a full drive vehicle, or they don't know anybody, and they can't even get out of their driveway, and it's an elderly person. It's like you kind of have to have that dependence, whether you want to or not. We all kind of do have a dependence on one another here, because we need to. And I think you can find that more in a smaller community, and there's like, if that would be something I feel a city would need a sense more of, to help have that vision of, what you were getting at there earlier, like doing your food for your neighbor or something.
I think that also kind of place where you're at in the city too is just and I'm not saying like it's like this for every city, but you're just so surrounded on, like, trying to better yourself in a place where there are thousands of other people also trying to better yourself too, that it's kind of hard for you to focus on, like, being a community member. You got to focus on just, like, it's it's kind of like a little bit more of like there's so much chaos happening around in the town that, like, like, oh my gosh, like there was this and this that happened. Why am I kind of going to cater to something like that, like, like helping out a neighbor or something like that? You're
just seeing so many faces.
Yeah, it's the chaos of the city that I feel like just creates people to be numb to it, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's just, being in the city, it just it basically just turns people numb to that kind of camaraderie, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel that.
And do you think that the fact that there's less community ties in urban areas, and the fact that there's more people living in urban areas than rural areas now, has that led to this mentality of always looking to the government or institutions for help, and not rather than your neighbors?
No, I feel in the cities they do have communities, but it's more on a certain type of. It's not a sense of community or belonging to the same area. It's a sense of, it's like an image community, like a
more niche. More
like what's like I belong to the. I don't know, what's a good one? I'm trying to think of something like BLM or like some kind of.
Well, that's more ideological.
No, that's what I'm saying. There's like more ideological, I feel, groups,
Because they're less connected to practical concerns with the land?
I don't know, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of groups, but it's more ideological groups thinking. It's not based on, like, what is necessarily your whole community. It's more of like, what kind of community do I want to create that I only want to be a part of? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not, I don't feel they are as inclusive. And like I said, in a small community, you can be however you want to be, whatever, no matter what, but at the end of the day, you're still going to be living in this small community and have to do some kind of input to make it worth living here. You got to do some kind of work to make it worth living here, you know?
Because the way that I think about it, even over here too, is just like obviously we've established that like Cuesta as a community it's pretty solid, right? But there's also like other parts of communities that are like me and you. Like we play at church. I guess we would be considered like a church community. We play music together. That's a music playing community. I think that's kind of where the city kind of shines through more. Is just those subcategories, but not that whole picture of being united as a whole. Just because you live in the same spot and you're neighbors, and and you share the same city, you care about the place that you live at.
They keep their groups separated. Like you said, they do have a good job of, hey, I can join this club or this club or this association or whatever. But they never have the kind of the mentality of, at the end of the day, we're all citizens of Albuquerque, or even we're all citizens from the Northeast Heights, or what I mean? I almost feel like people should almost find in the cities. Should go back to those old ways of connecting themselves to a part of a city. You know what I mean? I remember there used to be a thing like, I live south, it's always the same, but like south side somewhere, or west side, I live in the west side. Like I felt like that used to be a kind of community kind of sense.
What's the best way we can try and get back to that in cities? How would you foster that in the city? Like what would you, if you wanted to make the broader community of Albuquerque a stronger, cohesive community, what do you do? Like, what's the first thing to be done?
I feel like doing a farmer's market style thing here, but just doing it in different sectors of the city. Have their own kind of festivals for that part of the city. Like, hey, it's the Northwest, whatever. Like kind of have, I don't know.
So local food production.
Yeah, but have different. You go to the cities and they have one main area for a farmer's market or something. Like, if you wanted, a city could be set up to where it's like, it's big enough. If you're a good enough sized city, you should have not just one main one, have them spread out throughout the areas and have them in different different regions. Like, if you go to that one, they focus a little more. If you go to the Heights area, they have a lot more, I don't know, pinon stuff because the pinon trees are so close. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, you could almost, a city could be set up to where, rather than just having one, make it spread it out throughout the region, and have that region build those close kind of community bonds because they're in charge of, representing that region's farmers market, something like that. I don't know. That could be something.
I mean, and then it does really get everyone involved too, because it's like
make a competition at the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
Humans and nature are competitive at heart.
Definitely. I think it's like a little bit. I think it's pretty cool that if you were to do something like that, and then even hold like competitions and stuff like that, like you said, like South Albuquerque, let's say, like grows like the best watermelons and stuff like that, because that's like southern part of Albuquerque is like the best humidity. North side, you get like like your nuts and stuff like that. Like for example, and it's just like being able to bring all those pieces together for everyone in that community, and then it feels like everybody has actually contributed to actually keeping things afloat,
like imagine there's like a year-wide market every month or something. Okay, once a month it's at. Not every month is it at the same spot. It's like, okay, this month it's here, or whatever. This month here, or this weekend it's here and here. And then at the end, like maybe twice or 3 times a year, there's a big farmers, there's a big old thing where it's all of them together.
Yeah.
And have like a big old celebrate, have it at the end of fall. Or whatever, kind of like how you do here.
I definitely think it's important to keep a farmers market going, because that's one. I think farmers markets are one of the most important places for communities to mingle with each other and keep those connections strong.
Because have you been to the farmers market?
Not yet.
Oh wow, yeah. You should go, because I don't go that much either. But like even when you do go, you do get a strong sense of community there, because there's random people there too.
Yeah.
Like it's like different groups.
Yeah.
Like Dom will be at the farmers market, and then like hippies will be, hippies that sell that want to see smoke. There's some sage. I don't know that weekend. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I'm being stereotypical right now.
Farmers market.
And then you'll see my cousin Joe there, eating a frito pie. So it's just like there's such a random array of people.
It's like a mix of everything that
it fits. It fits. Like everyone seems to be like in their own sense of doing their own thing and going what they went for, but also enjoying. And people are there talking to each other
and maybe learning more about the cultures that they brought over here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I've seen a lot of hippies at the Costa Farmers Market. I've seen Christian musicians. I've seen religious songs. I've seen cowboy-looking types, cowboy hats and boots. So there seems to be a wide variety of people at Costa Farmers Market.
And I feel like at a market too, like you said, it allows you to learn about, like when somebody at the market brings like, okay, I made this homemade, I don't know, bread, like with these different types of veggies. It's like you're getting to hear someone's story behind, like, this was something my grandma passed on to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's where you can really learn. I feel like it's a place where you can really learn about your area.
and I guess I could bring up my mom again too. Like if she brought.
How come she only did pupusas?
Yeah, exactly. Like pupusas.
Oh my gosh.
Like yeah, that would be good.
Actually, you should bring that up too.
Good money.
Or elotes or something.
Exactly. Why do I want to think of this?
But that's kind of like where I'm saying is just you can just allow for these whole entire groups of people to just get together, trade knowledge between cultures about what they know versus what they know, and then those guys look forward to the next farmers market wherever it may be. They're looking forward to, oh man, that sweet lady, she had the best pupusas ever. You know what I'm saying? It's just, well, do you know what pupusas are?
No.
Okay, so obviously it comes from El Salvador, but it's basically just like corn flour turned into like tortillas, and it's stuffed with cheese and ground up chicharrones, and then also with like a pickled garnish on top.
So like a tortilla with cheese, chicharrones.
But it's stuffed.
Yeah, but it's stuffed inside.
Kind of like a pie, like a hot
That
pie.
sounds delicious.
Yeah, it's great, right?
Who doesn't like pepperonis and cheese?
Yeah, it's like a quesadilla that's fully enclosed.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Right.
Like,
it's like a stuffed tortilla basically, just with those toppings. So.
It's very good.
But anyways, But
we are gonna convince your mom to do that.
Yeah, definitely. I know, but it's just that's like the thing where I feel like that's where you can get like bigger cities involved and stuff like that.
But they do it. That's the thing. Like I've been to the farmers market in Albuquerque, and it's huge.
Yeah.
And it is. There's a lot of people that go too.
Yeah.
But it's like again, it's seasonal, whatever, and it's just in one central area, which is fine. But like, imagine having it in your own little. Again, imagine if it's spread out. It's not just one. You have others of them. But they're just spread out throughout the city. You know what I mean? You can still keep that center one, because that's, like I said, that's where you have your big main one where everyone comes together. But if you make it a little more localized to the region, maybe you'll get your people willing to go to that one, because I'm like, I don't want to go all the way to that part.
To that big one, yeah.
I don't want to go. I don't really feel like being around all that. I don't want to go to that part of Albuquerque. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
I'd rather see the person that I see every day when I go put gas at the gas station.
Yeah,
like
and
that's the person I want to see, you know, not some random dude on the north side.
Where my brothers lives in Albuquerque, I think his area is a very good area that kind of, in a city, does kind of represent that sense of a community. Because, you know, he lives in the west side, upper northwest side Albuquerque. So it's basically on the line of Rio Rancho and Albuquerque. And yeah, he lives far into that side. Like, it's basically the end of it, of Albuquerque, on the west side. And like, when you say that sense of like, I'd rather see somebody at the gas station, that gas station that was by his house, you know, there was a plaza, little area, you know, that's where the Walgreens was.
Yeah.
There was a Walgreens, CVS, you know, restaurants, some stores, bank, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
Just like, but like, you always saw the same type of people. Like, you always saw the same faces in that area. You know what I mean? And like, it did kind of feel like a community sense. When you went to the bar there, you always saw the same workers. You always saw the same. It was just always the same familiarity. You know what I mean? Even the church we went to there played a big part into the area's, not influence, but kind of culture. You know what I mean? Because they did a lot of events, you know, that represented that whole area.
And those similar faces, well, those are your peers. That community of peers used to be your primary support structure. And now it seems like we're less reliant on that and more reliant on.
But we want people to step in and help us.
But I think that's also because of the accessibility that the city offers too, though. Like, you're less willing to rely on someone if you know that there's actual businesses out there,
or the government
to go ahead and do that thing for you that you could have relied on someone for, and then thus build a stronger community feeling. But if, like I said, if accessibility exists that's that severe like it is in cities, it's kind of hard for you to kind of get that.
And people are more hesitant to engage with people now. Like, people don't communicate with people like they used to anymore. So they're not willing as much to go to somebody for help because they don't want to ask. They don't know how to ask people for help. No one knows how to.
We don't trust each other.
We don't. We don't know how to confront each other anymore. We don't know how to go to somebody in need, and we're so used to doing it through our.
And we don't know how to problem solve.
No, yeah, we freak out. Like, we're just like, oh my gosh, and it's just like, okay, take a second, and like really, we don't rely on our neighbors anymore.
Yeah.
We don't.
Like, you know, if
even our families, we don't rely on our families anymore for stuff.
Like, you know, even now, like this conversation, I mean, you know, you know, like we're live streaming it and stuff like that and stuff, and you know, it's kind of all somebody has to do to get a different opinion on a different subject too, like, is just hop on YouTube and then go ahead and pull up a podcast or something like that.
It's kind of a catch-22. This technology makes it easier to connect with each other, but it also makes it harder.
Yeah.
In a way.
And it makes it easier to seclude yourself into a bubble because it gives you. There's so much access that it gives you the access that you want to create for yourself.
Yeah.
You can find what you want to. And
you know what else yourself. I hate too is like social media and all that stuff like that turns people into. They switch off between how they act on social media versus how they act in person. And that's the thing that I fucking can't stand about social media and how it ties into technology. You know, it
changes people.
It really does. It really does.
In a way, it turns us all into politicians. We have a public face, public opinions, and we have what we do in private on social media. It should really be the same.
I was like, hey, how's it going? I don't like you at all. Yeah, hey. I hate you. It's good to see you.
Social media breeds.
You go, girl. Yeah, bro, that's nice.
It doesn't make us all politicians. It makes us all marketers for ourselves.
Yeah.
Because we always want to have ourselves look the best way. That's why I don't post anything.
Especially if it's being posted to where everyone can see it. You know what I'm saying? Because you want to leave a good impression on someone who's going to go ahead and see your profile, which makes no fucking sense at all. Because there's no better way to communicate what type of person you are than in person. You know what I'm saying? And that's also another thing that I feel like a lot of people don't know how to do anymore, is communicate themselves as like how they are as a person. You know? I think that's what you said earlier, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like it's
a hard thing for people.
Yeah, it's just hard for people to be themselves.
It's hard for people to break out of their shells.
Yeah, that too.
That's why personally I think the best way to use social media is as for one-way communication, not our primary communication. It should be just one way. We're putting this out there, and we can meet in person to discuss it further.
What's funny is that like most people now will use Snapchat as a main form of communicating with somebody rather than even a phone, text, or a phone call anymore.
Yeah.
Even if they're calling, people will use Snapchat as their primary way of calling a person.
Which kind of makes you wonder what's the point of paying a phone bill, but that's
another conversation.
You don't really need a phone service anymore. You can have a you can buy
Snapchat?
just use it as an iPod Touch. Remember those things?
Yeah.
iPod Touches.
I remember when the iPod Touch came out. I was like in 6th grade, and like you had it because the iPhone had just come out, like where it was like iPhone 3, whatever. I don't know. But the iPod Touch, yes, because like there was a text messaging app for it, and there was there was Voxer. I don't know if you remember Voxer.
Yeah.
Voxer was like a voice messaging app. You just send your voice, but that's how you message. It was just voice message. And I remember like having the iPod Touch. It was like you had a phone. You basically had a phone. It was like the coolest thing ever. But yeah, we really don't need a cellular service anymore, like Verizon, whatever.
all you need is internet.
All you need is internet. Yeah.
Well, this leads into one of the written questions I had. What conveniences are you willing to give up if it means less government services or less institutional services? Like if you know that, well, I guess that's all. That's.
What do you mean?
What are you willing to give up in exchange for smaller government? Like if you know no institution's going to come to help you, like in exchange for more personal autonomy. What are you willing to give up?
That's a very loaded question.
That is a good question.
I know, and it's very loaded.
And I guess that leads into another question I have. What's more important to you? Personal autonomy or institutional conveniences? Basically, freedom or security.
I think personal. I think personal is a lot better. Just because that makes you independent. You know what I mean? Like just like take out government, all that stuff like that. If if you had that strength, then you can actually survive off of what your knowledge and stuff like that. Versus I think that it is far better to be independent than dependent, especially the government.
And you feel for people who are just put in situations where they have to be dependent on it. Like there are people who are like that.
Yeah.
But just because there are, I don't think that's the way that we should continue to make that the way for them. You know what I mean? Because there needs to be other ways that people can dig out of. Like the government should be doing, I think, is creating avenues for people to dig themselves out of the hole and be, successful and self-sustaining on their own.
Yeah.
Not through them spoon feeding them and being like, come on,
Like it's okay, mijito, we're gonna get out of this $35,000 card.
And $1.2 million and everything. Student loans.
Now, the counter argument to that is, what if you were to make these conveniences foolproof? Like, what if we were to make a power grid that never went out?
If you can do that, then there
always
would
rely on electricity.
If there was, then there would be. Then you could be reliant on that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you could.
Because then it's going to be self-sufficient, right? It should self-sustain, and that's what self-sufficient, the definition of that is to be able to do it itself.
Yeah.
So if there was, then yeah, I'm okay with relying on that, but yeah, there's nothing,
But the follow-up question is, can we build a power grid that is completely reliable?
I don't think so.
I mean, we probably can, but it would have to be like, somebody would literally have to like put their hands over everyone and be like, okay, like this has to be the way we all can get together and think, you know what I mean? And then unfortunately, none of us are God.
What do you mean by that?
Like you would have to get everyone to like right now, everyone's mindsets are so all over the place that we don't really have any kind of one common thing in mind. Even when it comes to energy, when it comes to climate, no matter what, there's this side or that side. There's not really everyone kind of agrees on the same thing. And in order to do that, what I mean by that, like you've got to literally get everyone, like you would really need everyone to be on the same page. And to get everyone on the same page, I think would be almost impossible to do that.
Yeah, so you can do it, but you would just need the support of everyone who believes that would work exactly the way that people say it will. You
gotta sell it so well that people will buy it, that buy into that.
So is it fair to say that the United States is way too diverse for that? Because there's no way to get this many people.
No, because I think ultimately,
I kind of disagree with you on that. I say yes.
No, I think ultimately anything that's good, that produces good, will always come out. Like, good, I feel, always comes out in the end, even though it looks bleak, whatever.
What's good?
I don't know. That's a thing. Like, good could be, like you're saying, is the United States so diverse that we can't come, whatever. Eventually, something has to come where people do have to come together on something. Because you eventually just reach a tipping point, whatever, breaking point, whatever you want to call it. And eventually, everyone has to come to some sense of agreement.
Well, because an example of what I'm trying to say is that a lot of progressives in the U.S. would point to European nations and their as an example of the ideal social safety net systems and their conveniences. But a lot of what American progressives don't realize is that those are much smaller countries with much more homogeneous populations.
Yes.
They have a lot less cultural diversity.
We're the most culturally diverse country in the world. I mean, there's never been a more. I'm just personally saying that somebody could probably say, well, actually, if you look back in the Roman Empire, actually was very good. What I'm saying is that I feel, within the last millennia, the United States has been the most diverse country in the world because it has allowed everyone from anywhere to come here and do what they want to do. Like, in the sense of you can create your own path. Be who you want to do, whatever. You have the opportunity to create your own path. If you fail, you fail. Sorry. If you succeed, good for you. But you can only do that here. We'll be the ones that make that standard. And so everyone's like, well, I'll go there. And
would it be correct to say that the more diverse a country is, the more significant that marketplaces have? Because marketplaces allow for more opportunity for individual choice in what they want, what people want. Whereas the smaller a country is, less diverse a country is, that leaves more, that the more it can afford to be authoritarian, because more people can be on the same page. Or is that a weird connection I'm making?
I think that's a little different connection, in my opinion. I don't know.
Like authoritarian top-down approaches can work more easily with a less diverse population.
No, because I look at places like Japan, right? They're not really diverse in their population, right? Japan, people who live in Japan are probably like 90% generations worth of people living in Japan. But they have a very much of sense of a group think, what's best for the community, you just do. You know what I mean? Like, there's pictures of people in Japan waiting in line to go into a box just to smoke cigarettes so they don't smoke cigarettes in public and offend people or whatever. You know what I mean? Like but that's not. One would say they don't have a diverse way of thinking. That's just the culture of Japan. So I don't know. It's necessarily, the more it's that. I think diversity is but it's all about what kind of culture is there and what kind of culture is in place, within that diversity. Or if there's not, I think the culture is more important than the diversity. Do you get what I'm saying?
So it's all about what the broader culture values more: individual freedom, individual choices.
Yeah, because I don't think
collective safety.
I think culture takes rank more, because and it's not necessarily New Mexico culture, and it's not necessarily Hispanic culture. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily that. It's like, what is the culture of that area? What is something, like people of that area can connect to and are unified in, and that they have a sense of creed with, not whether how many people here do we have here that are from different countries living here. You know what I mean? I think it's more of what have we built here. And then when you have that culture, that's when you allow it's the diversity of thought is what I think is more important rather than the diversity of appearance. Yeah.
And actions, I guess, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And actions.
Yeah. Because, no, I think that diversity is pretty good for a country, though.
Yeah, you do need to be diverse.
Yeah. I think that if you're gonna make, just a super set way of rules, it has to be a super extreme. You know what I'm saying? And it can't be any other way, or else it doesn't work.
What do you mean by extreme?
Like, it has to be like everybody thinks this way, because if there's one person who doesn't, then that kind of creates a conflict, a huge conflict of interest.
We don't want conflict. We want it to be how we need it to be.
Yeah. But then if you allow diversity too, I don't know, it's with diversity and then also similarities, in to keep it that same way within culture it's pretty crazy how to be able to go ahead and manage that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I know that I prefer diversity. Especially for the U.S. because
it's what's created the U.S. to be what it is.
Yeah, of course, and I think that diversity allows for people to not only go ahead and spread their culture and also be successful by making money off of what they know and stuff like that, but also helping the U.S. as well. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Somebody could come from China and be like, okay, I have this product. It's like, wow, well, we've never seen this before. It's like, yeah, it's because it was only made, this was only made in China. And if they bring that over here to the U.S., then that's another piece of culture that was brought into the U.S. to also impact possible economic standpoints of stuff like that. It's just a matter of, I love the diversity because you're able to get people to do their thing, and then their thing ends up contributing to society. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I think that's my favorite part about that.
And to me, that's diversity of thought and background.
Yeah.
You know
exactly.
what I mean?
Yeah.
That's I think the big thing.
Yeah.
It's like you're bringing a background that's different than other people's background.
And then that also inspires other people to also try it out their way. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
And this is why I don't understand with current young people of today. Why are we kind of becoming so seclusive, and our things, like anything, anyone does something that's from another culture, we feel it's appropriating now. Yeah. Or now anything, and I feel there's a line there of being disrespectful to someone's culture or not.
Yeah.
But at the same time too, that's the whole idea of America, is you bring what you brought from your culture or whatever, and you bring it and you showcase it or whatever, and people aren't coming. You want to be able to show other people that are not part of your culture your way.
There was this comedian that I had seen, and he's all It's I got some tequila in the shed. I was thinking about offering it to your gardener. It's like, why? Is it because he's Mexican? And then the gardener walks in. It's like, yeah, why? Do you have some?
But it's like, it's one of those things that's like the person who they're trying to protect.
Yeah.
They're looking, like, you look at them sometimes and like, leave me alone. Like, yeah, I want some tequila.
Yeah. Like, that's
part of the joke, you know?
Yeah.
Too many people have no confidence in themselves or anything they can offer themselves that they need to find virtue in protecting others.
Yeah, because they feel that they're being, in a sense, marginalized, but it's like, let people defend themselves, you know, okay, I think sometimes you do need to step in and defend people. But so that's not the point I'm trying to make there. But quit speaking on behalf of people, like in a general sense.
Especially if you have no business to be like, dude.
Because you and yourself are then becoming the appropriator because you feel like
Yeah. Now let's just say this, okay? Now, no racism involved, okay?
Yeah.
If I were to offer a black person maybe like a cup of grape soda or something like that, right? And there would just be like, it's like, that's really racist. And then he just in there like, man, this is the best damn grape soda. It's just like, it's all like, okay, Tiffany, why are you defending him if you know nothing about that culture, considering that you go to Starbucks and drink pumpkin spice lattes?
Or you don't know that person.
Or you don't know that person at all. Maybe he is the biggest grape soda drink you've ever met. Like,
but not even just that. I feel like there's some things that are connected to certain cultures.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, they happen for a reason, but no matter what, that culture is going to identify with it, whether it brings a stereotype or not, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that would be a good thing to research, though, where that stereotype with black people and grape soda came from.
Why is tequila, stereotypes for Mexicans? Well, tequila made it. Yeah, I know. Yeah, that would be interesting, the history with...
It's making the agave plant, which is native to Mexico.
Yeah. Why do people in Italy... in New York City, why do Italian immigrants, generations...
Same with champagne. Champagne comes from a specific plant in France. I think a specific grape.
Yeah, comes from the Champagne.
And there's even a province in France called Champagne.
Yeah. Cubans, you also have Cuban cigars, Cuban cigars you can't get anywhere else. And that's why I'm saying, like, if you offer someone a Cuban, it's not because you're being racist. It's just like, dude, that this is part of your culture. I want to go ahead and experience this with someone who actually knows a little bit more than me. I would wish you would go ahead and show me, a little bit more about this. I want to learn with you about your culture and stuff like that. I want you to be a part of this with me. I want to know. I want to become more knowledgeable on how we can continue being diverse as not just Americans, but also people as well. You know what I'm saying? Just so you can learn more and just be more knowledgeable on stuff like that. I think that's also another thing that not a lot of people do anymore.
I agree. Well, that's my goal with this podcast idea, to just connect with people more, get people to, but also encourage people to get together like this in person and just talk.
Yeah. We're just drinking some tea. You got some coffee. My lady's got some water.
Agua purificada.
Yeah. We're speaking a little bit of Spanish here and there.
We still have a screen here, but we're not connecting on our phones right now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good to talk in person.
Yeah, and good.
I would also encourage too, like, whoever this audience reaches to, is that they were to also get involved in this as well, because I know YouTube has their comment section and stuff,
Ignore the comments.
Podcasts are going to be so cliche soon enough, in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's going to have their own podcast. But who knows? Maybe it will be the way that people get back to, like you say, maybe that's the way people get back to, conversating with one another, is through that format, It's incorporated 21st century technology, because you need technology to communicate with people now.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? But hey, maybe 20 years down the line, we're not going to be surprised so surprised. Like, maybe we're just living through history right now.
Honestly.
we're living through a developmental change of generational change in wisdom and knowledge that us here right now are going to be, when 60 years from now, we'll be the last connections of a world where we're saying,
actually, that I hope that doesn't happen. This technology like this is effective to get ideas out on a mass scale, but I don't think it should replace face-to-face communication.
No, it shouldn't.
But that's how we keep our humanity.
But I'm saying this might be the way that does continue to keep people to do that, even though it's not the way we are envisioning. But look, because we're face-to-face right now, even though there's a camera and something involved, but we're still face-to-face right now, talking to each other and having that. What's always been a natural human thing.
And also allowing everyone else who, like I said, whoever this audience reaches to, maybe they'll be inspired to even have these kind of conversations with their buddies and stuff like that, and their peers, and the people that, their opinions. It's just, like I said, just allowing them to communicate and stuff like that, and, figure out a little bit more, maybe be inspired by, these types of things,
I want to bring it back to the topic of self-sufficiency, because you have a good example of this. You're a business owner. You're in a restaurant. But you still have suppliers. That gets to my point earlier. Where does your suppliers get their merchandise from? And what's stopping you from completely locally sourcing everything, including buying wheat from local farmers, or at least flour from local farmers to make your own bread, sourcing beef from local cow farms, all that, everything locally sourced. And how long would it take you? It's cheaper to have suppliers that truck in merchandise from all over the country, right? How long do you think would it take you to get to the point where you locally source everything?
Like a multi-millionaire.
Right. Because it's more expensive to locally source.
It is. I mean,
it's cheaper.
For as much as I would love to, the amount of avenues and areas you have to go, the system is set up to where it's easiest to have a centralized thing. That's how it works for a common day-to-day blue-collar restaurant owner, I feel. It's set up that way. You can't go everything local. I couldn't. I would be closed by now. You know what I mean? Like, it's so much sourcing, and then not just that, it's the regulatory factor too. Are they FDA approved products?
Right.
USDA approved. You have to make sure you're buying products from people that are just, it's like, oh yeah, here's some butter you can use. I was outside my house for a while, but it's still good. You know what I mean?
So we could have someone that could be a cow farmer in Cuesta right now.
And there's been people who I've approached. And there's people who we can technically go with right now. They're just in the process of getting their FDA...
all their official licenses.
I even talked to the market in Cuesta about seeing, hey, can I go to you for my cheese? You can do all my sliced cheese. You know what I mean?
Is that one of the biggest inhibitors of locally sourced everything? Like,
there's not access.
So many licenses to be able to sell.
And Cuesta itself is not this eco green community, extra green community to the. What I mean by that is, like, even if I wanted to do that, I couldn't really depend on the resources of here in Cuesta. There's not enough farmers here. There's not enough resources itself in the area for me to be able to do that. Yeah, I can maybe get the cows, the beef, but I'm going to be going through a lot of beef. We sell a lot of burgers.
Because how many
burgers do you think you sell a day?
It just depends, but let's say an average around 100.
How many beef patties does one cow yield? Do you know?
Well, let me see. If you're butchering a cow, and usually what's the fat rating of the
80-20?
80-20. You'd probably be using a little bit of some like chuck and like some rib, and you probably have to grind that up.
A cow you could probably get
like maybe like a good like 25 patties off of a cow. Using the right cuts of meat.
The right cuts of meat for
what the patties require.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, sure, we can use up the whole cow, but I'm not gonna put, Rocky Mountain oysters in a burger.
Different meat for different.
I mean, so it's. I think that's like the hard part too. Is just like you said, like the resources too. Like, don't get me wrong. Like Cuesta has,
There's a lot of people who sell cows.
There's a lot of people who sell cows over here, but like then you got to start thinking too. It's like, okay, well, right now we're in the middle of winter. How good is all of the produce that people were growing back in the summertime gonna be at now? You know what I'm saying? So it would be hard. It would be really difficult to do that too, and not just that, but also adding in labor to what you have to do as a cook or a chef. So you can actually work with these super, super raw ingredients as well.
And not just that, the labor that these people who would have to process all the meat, do the patties, whatever, they themselves have to put in as well. There's not enough, to be honest, I don't think a lot of the people who want to do patties here, we go through so many patties. I mean, to me, I would be a little hesitant or cautious of even going that route. If somebody came up to me and said, tomorrow I have this many cows and I can supply you for 6 months, whatever, I would still be hesitant because I'm like, it's not a well-established business here yet. There's nothing established well enough here to give me that ease of comfort of saying, I'm going to depend on this guy for all my patties, you know what I mean? When I myself...
Well, wouldn't the fact of a new company coming in and with the intention of solidifying himself in the community, wouldn't that increase your trust with him?
That would, but what I'm saying is that there's not anyone well established enough right now to do that.
And I'm actually going to make that number a little bit higher for how many patties I think you can get off a cow. I think that's like... Probably like 75 to 100. But still, if you think about it, that is one cow per day at the den.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous, So
that's a lot of cow.
yeah, that's a lot of.
Jeez.
Yeah, dude, that's a lot, man. That's a lot.
Even the lettuce itself.
Yeah.
How am I going to get that much lettuce from somebody from this area? I can't.
And then if all of it goes
the tomatoes.
What if everyone in this town grew a little bit of lettuce and donated a little bit to you?
How do you convince everyone in this town to do it? That's what I'm saying. How do you sell it? You can. You can get people to do that stuff. It may sound crazy now. You can. But you have to be able to sell it. If you can sell that pitch to people and get enough people to buy into it, then maybe. How do you do it though? That's the question you would have to ask yourself, I think.
You would just have to start a Wildcats Den lettuce committee.
Dude, would you like to be part of our lettuce committee?
Be the president of the Cuesta Wildcats Den lettuce committee.
Our fight is to ensure that every citizen in Cuesta contributes to me.
Just why not all leafy greens?
There you go.
Spinach.
I'll throw some fucking romaine on the burger.
What about arugula?
No, but I mean also
just to conclude, it's not established enough here for me to just go that way entirely.
And also like distributor wise, ease of access.
Ease of access,
like crazy, man. I mean, and I guess I'm only speaking on because of what I've seen on like the employee side of watching you. And that's kind of like, you know, whenever we run out of something at the den, we're just able to go ahead and just be like, hey, you know, I need another thing of patties. Do you think you can go ahead and do that?
Yeah,
and then
am I able to get one tomorrow?
Yeah, and your rep comes in the next day, and then we're good for like the rest of the week. So that's kind of like the ease of access where I'm talking about now. If we were to do this for a local person, I'd be like, okay, hey, I need a cow so I can get through the day. And he's like, okay, it's like, okay, well, I can get that to you in 3 days. And it's like 3 days, oh my gosh. And it's like, well, yeah. So because first of all, we need to get a vet to check the cow, okay? We need to see if he doesn't have any illnesses that can cause a foodborne illness, something like that. Okay, and then if he passes that, then after that, then it's time for slaughter. It takes a super long time for that cow to be slaughtered because you have to, and it's going to get pretty gruesome,
but proper.
Well, yeah, you have to slit that cow's neck, and then after that, then all the blood has to drain out, and then after that, then it probably takes like I think I heard like 24 hours for all that.
And there's a way to do it humanely.
Yeah, humanely. I mean, because
right?
And not just that too, but you also got to consider you're not just gonna you're not just gonna use a rocket launcher to put him out of his misery. You know. But I'm just saying that, and not just that too, but also
I just imagined cows in Halo.
Yeah. Like in Call of Duty. Yeah. Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Anyways, but and then also the equipment too, like when you butcher a cow, you also gotta, like even like these beams that you have right here, like, you know, you would actually need beams like that high to actually hang the cow, so when you slit its neck, then all the blood is dripping down, all that stuff like that. You gotta be sure all that blood's going into like waste, all that, like, you know, you gotta be sure you got a very, very well set up slaughterhouse, or else it's not gonna work. And then after that, then, you know, then guys working on making all the cuts and all that stuff like that too. So that's already like 2 days wasted on when he could have just called his rep, and then the next day he already got patties, and we're still not even done with the cow process yet.
And we're just talking about cows.
And we're just talking about the cow right now.
We're still chickens, pigs.
Yeah.
Fish,
my bacon.
Regular living source fish.
Yeah.
And how am I gonna do the fish and shrimp basket that people crucified me for when I didn't have it?
Yeah.
Where am I gonna get that cod?
Yeah. Where's
my cod dealer?
So then, if we were to even go that route too, you're telling me Miguel has to fly all the way to Maine, go get some shrimp, and then come back with the sack, and he's got a beard this big because he's been on a boat for 7 days. 7 days!
Well, did you make the turtle sauce?
Yeah.
No, I was making it tomorrow. Okay. The shrimp goes bad today.
Well, just seriously, imagine if you had your own cow farm, your own pig farm, your own chicken farm, and property on the coast somewhere where you farmed your own fish.
And you know what? That is exactly what the owner and founder probably of Shamrock Foods said.
He's a millionaire.
And he probably started off with doing something, and then he got into somebody else's business and said, well, we're going to buy that farm, and then I got money, and then and hey, look at that farm there in Phoenix, Arizona. Well, let's take it over and make it part of Shamrock.
Oh, you're saying that might be the intention of some...
That's the intention of some people.
Of these big companies, but they grow too large to work.
That's probably, I feel like there's how a lot of these companies start off as that mom and pop story, because they do have to start off in some humble way, and then the things have to go into place. You know what I mean? They have to fall. You have to have luck, and things have to go into place, and you have to work to make them to go into place. And so then eventually, you create something that it's like, well, we don't need to go to have a farm for every single thing to cover just one restaurant. We'll create our own farms. We'll create our own slaughterhouses. We'll be the one, and we'll just provide to the areas. You know what I mean? And that's the structure. That's the way it works. Now, I wish there were more vendors in the area to go through. Like we just recently are talking with another company.
Ideally, that's what capitalism would foster. Different people or different groups of people with different skills, creating different marketplaces with different things, all working together.
Mm-hmm. But sometimes when you're the first to do it, and you get in it first, and you create some sense of whatever, trust, loyalty, you kind of yourself have built that monopoly on the people. Whether people like monopolies or not, whoever's the first to do it and whoever can build that brand, trust, loyalty the most, we ourselves are going to create the monopoly. You know what I mean? So it's like...
Monopolies are a natural outcome from successful companies. So then the question becomes, how do you...
This itself is a monopoly. Right. You think I'm going to get an Android? No. Do I think monopolies are bad? Yeah. But I contribute to it. You do. You do. You do. Everyone does.
If I could not have a phone, I would.
Yeah.
I'm going to hate phones.
Do it tomorrow.
Two of my jobs are remote. So.
Exactly.
And then you lose your job. You won't be able to talk to girls anymore.
Bye podcast.
So it's...
I was going to figure out a name.
I think just the Discourses is fine.
Okay.
I don't want to attach my name to it. I don't want it to be just about me.
What about chilling with Dylan?
It's very casual.
Yeah, it is super casual. Because this is a casual conversation, man.
We've got coffee, tea, water.
I think that might be a good place to end. We've been this is about an hour 6 minutes long. I want to keep these to about an hour.
Okay.
So now goes back to you, audience, future audience, who are going to watch and listen to this. Continue the conversation in the comments. What do you think about self-sufficiency versus convenience?